Mike, do you have a sense of the impact or correlation that this would have on users' financial health? And what I mean by that is, a lot of people want everything at their fingertips, right? The immediate access and the gratification, but it might not always translate into them building wealth or reaching their financial goals per se.
Yeah, no, I think what we do see is that when investors are using digital tools, particularly for educational content and for things like planning tools, that they are more confident in achieving their goals, and that they're in a better position with respect to achieving their goals than if they're not digitally engaged. Generally speaking, we see that this is true whether or not they work with a financial advisor as well. So we looked at things like in our research, whether folks who work with an advisor had done a financial plan, a formal plan with their advisor, and also whether they had interacted with digital planning tools. And what we found was that the folks who had both of those pieces, right? So they had both a plan that was developed with the help of a financial professional, but they also had the opportunity to interact digitally with planning tools. Those folks were most highly satisfied, most confident in their ability to achieve their goals. So it really, we feel like the digital experience is something that complements rather than replaces the need for professional advice and guidance.
Okay, so we're talking about the Opti channel experience here. Is that it?
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's really, Opti channel again, we think about delivering the right experience to the right client in the right channel. And again, that's going to depend on the individual client's preferences, but having that availability is critical.
Yeah, so I guess it brings me to another point, and you've touched on this. There's a myth sometimes that millennials or younger generation don't value advice and they prefer digital. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's true that it's a myth. Yeah, there's a myth that boomers don't like digital, and there's a myth that millennials don't want advice. They want to do everything digitally. I think both are untrue. And what we see consistently is that younger investors do seek out and value advice, but that they are really looking for, in some cases, a different kind of relationship where they play a more active role, right? So we have more what we might call validators among younger investors who, yes, they want to work with a professional advisor, but they also want to maybe do some of their own research and bring some of their own ideas to the table. So they're less likely to be true delegators that just want the advisor to make decisions on their behalf. But that certainly doesn't mean that they don't seek out and value advice, both in digital form, but also delivered, through a relationship with a traditional advisor.
And I think that's a really important point, Mike, because there's a lot of pressure on financial advisors to provide that value that perhaps the digital experience doesn't give them, right? Because digital experience tends to be a little bit more transactional. You get the snapshot. And you and I have been on a panel discussion, and we've talked about the spectrum with financial advice. Can you talk about that? Because what we found, what you found, JD Power found, was that a lot of the advice out there from advisors is still functional. It's still transactional.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think whether we look in Canada or the US, a very significant number of full service investors are really still getting, what you might call functional or transactional advice. So it's much more, it's narrowly focused on investments. It's more reactive. And I think, to your point, with the emergence of more lower cost digital solutions, I think advisors who are, whose business model is predicated on that kind of functional advice, really are in trouble from a long-term perspective. And what's really critical is that advisors move more towards what we talk about as comprehensive advice, right?
Hmm.
Where they're providing holistic planning, where they have a deep understanding of their clients' goals and objectives, and they're really providing and delivering a set of products and services that meet a broad range of a client's needs.